to Ashish.
Hello. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. And it's an opportunity for me to introduce Mr. Dattatray Vishwanath Ghanekar, MD of Kolhapur Doodh Utpadak Sangh, uh, and popularly known as brand name is Gokul. So everybody knows Gokul because our morning starts with this Gokul milk. And it's my pleasure to introduce him because I met him in year 2015, and that time I learned many things from him. And thanks to CMA Anand Karpe, he had provided me opportunity that time. It's a valuation assignment for Gokul Milk Dut, and that time I met sir. So, sir started his career at the age of 19 only. So, he started his career in 1973. Okay. So, 1973 to 1974, he worked as a technical officer with Punjab Dairy Development Corporation of Ludhiana. So, before that, he worked as a
Ashish ji, there is some voice problem, I think. Ashish ji, you are not audible.
hello, hello.
Yeah,
Yes,
you are
sir.
audible
Yes, sir.
now.
You are audible.
I'm sorry for this technical snacks because I really I'm failed to understand this online. Uh, okay, so sorry, I was introducing sir. Hello, hello.
Yes, sir. Visit. Yes, yes, yes.
I'm really sorry, yaar. Hello, now I'm audible.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are audible. Please go
Sir,
ahead.
sorry. Actually, I I got this opportunity, and technically we are failed to introduce him properly. So, sir has started his career at the age of 19, and he has done a BSc Dairy Technology from Karnal, that is in Haryana. And then 1973-1974, he worked as a technical officer, Punjab Dairy Development Corporation at Ludhiana. Then 1974 to 2009, he worked with National Dairy Development Board, NDDB we call it, popularly known as NDDB. And he has done various assignments over there. So for 2 years, that is 74 to 76, he worked as a spearhead team member at Jalgaon Dairy Project. So that is in Maharashtra again. Then 76 to 77, he worked as a assistant executive in Farmers Organization Division at NDDB Anand, that is in Gujarat. Then again next year, 77 to 78, he worked as a member of NDDB spear team at Bhatinda, Punjab. Then 78 to 83, for 5 years, he worked as a deputy team leader as at Kolhapur Dairy Project. So again, he entered into our Maharashtra. Then 83 to 87, he worked as a MD, Managing Director of Solapur Milk Union on deputation. Then 87 to 95, he worked as a state coordinator at NDDB regional office, that is in Mumbai. Then 95 to 97, he joined OEO University. So his post graduation is from OEO, USA, and he has completed his MA in interpersonal communication under Ford Foundation Scholarship. Then 97 to 2000 work, he again worked as a deputy general manager in cooperative services division at NDDB Anand. Then 2001 to 2003, he worked as a state director of Gujarat at Ahmedabad. Then he also worked as a state director for Maharashtra at NDDB Pune. Then he has worked as a DGM for cooperative services division at NDDB Anand. Then 2007 to 2009, he worked as a managing director of National Cooperative Dairy Federation of India at Anand. And from 2009 to 10, he is working as a managing director with Kolhapur Milk Union, Doodh Utpadak Sangha. On deputation, he has worked for 1 year, and since 2010 till date, he is working as a managing director with Kolhapur Milk Union. This is a lot of things he has done in his life, and now he is around 67 years of age. And now we are eager to hear you, sir. Thank you.
May I start?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I must thank CMA Jayant Hampi Hori, Chairman, as well as CMA Dhananjay Kumar Vatsya, for Chairman, for giving me, Chairman of the PD Committee, for giving me this excellent opportunity to present a few things about dairying in front of you. I am honored. Let me start. You see, first of all, I will introduce you to a bit of a world scenario. Then I will come down to national scenario, and then a bit about Maharashtra, and then Kolhapur Milk Union, and then we will discuss about challenges in the dairy field and the importance of cost accountants and management in dairy. So, the first slide, world scenario. You see, the milk production is 906 million metric ton. The entire world. The entire world means countries like USA, Europe, New Zealand, Australia, China, Pakistan. Mostly these countries, India, they contribute to a world scenario. Now, and there is a bit of comparison between world population of animals in the world and population of animals in India. So you will notice that, say, for example, cows, 1,428 million cows are there as against India's 210. So India's cow population is 14.7%. So though we always talk about, Indian cow, like our earlier speaker talked about Kamadhenu, but at the same time, we must remember that at the world scenario, it is the buffaloes, the percentage of buffaloes as well as the production of buffaloes is very near and dear to us, because the buffalo has got more cream, buffalo milk has got more cream, it has got more solids, not fat, and there is hardly any country other than maybe Pakistan or so, or Bangladesh, who produced buffalo milk. So it is kind of a unique for us. So let's go ahead. Next slide, please. Can you go to next slide? Yes, thank you. So major milk producing countries here, you will notice that India, as probably everybody knows by now, India is #1 country in the world so far as the milk production goes. But let me tell you, it has been a very, very tough task. I'll give you one example of which I remember. That is in one of the World Bank reports, they stated that India has done an excellent job in terms of utilizing the food aid, because what is happening at the all world level, that this the food aid which is given to different countries which are in distress is generally distributed as such without giving a much thought about what to do about it. It's given to the poor people and then everybody forgets about it. Whereas in case of Operation Flood program, which was a very unique program in the world, and which is one of the most successful food aid programs so far in the world. The World Bank reported that we gave $1 to NDDB, and in terms of conversion of that $1, they bounced back with $42. They rolled $42 out of $1. So that is the strength of Operation Flood program. That is the strength of how National Dairy Development worked in at all India level, and that is how they implemented different projects very innovatively under the leadership of Dr. Kurian. And the Amul Dairy's support, because it was in the beginning, Amul Dairy's staff which work for NDDB, and that is how small teams were sent to different states in our country. And now you know what has happened, that India is #1 country in the world, which was nowhere on the milk map. European Union is 176, but remember, European Union means there are several countries within the Union. So though it is written as if it is a one country, but it's not one country. It is so many countries put together. Then USA, of course, is 101. Pakistan, 57 million metric ton. Then China, 35. The China story, almost probably in every field, is amazing. China was not there on the milk map, say maybe 15 years ago. And now suddenly China has emerged as the 5th largest country in the world. The reason is, once China decides to do something, they do it full-heartedly, and they have got the political as well as economic power to do so. And just to give one example, the China procures green fodder from America. So can you imagine the distance between China and America, and how they are procuring green fodder, that is silage, of course, from America, and bringing it all the way from America to China and feeding it to their animals. Amazing. And then there is Brazil, Russian Federation, New Zealand, Turkey, and Australia. Please go to next slide. The international milk production, the total milk production in million metric tons, as I said, is 906 million metric tons. And the major contributing areas also we talked about, like Europe, America, Oceania. Oceania is New Zealand, Australia, that area. In Asia, milk production increased in countries like India, China, Pakistan. I told you about the China story. It is due to improvement in the farm management. Yes, of course. Let me tell you, at this juncture itself, the whole scenario of milk business elsewhere in other Western countries and our Indian subcontinent is totally different. We have got, one farmer with 1 acre of land and 2 to 3 animals, whereas they have got big farms like 500 animals, 1,000 animals, and 500 acres of land, 1,000 acres of land, like that. In India, milk production rise is due to increased animals, fodder development, availability of cattle feed, and good rainfall. I would add to this by saying that, as I was saying, that it has been an uphill task to bring India to the #1 level. I believe that the Dr. Kurian's formula of Anand type of milk societies, the Anand type of cooperative structure, has produced all these results. It is a 3-tier structure. In nutshell, I will try to tell you. And milk is collected in every village through a dairy cooperative. It is brought to the chilling center. It is then brought to the main dairy for processing and packaging. And the milk is distributed within the district as well as in the nearby metro city. That is how the business is done every day. And in case of Anand pattern, the main difference is that at the village level, the milk every day, morning and evening, the milk is tested for its quality, and quantity is also weighed, and then it is paid immediately. Maybe after 1 day, maybe after 5 days, maybe after 10 days, but it's not that after, in case of, for example, sugar cane, the payment is made almost after 1 year, or almost after at least 6 months. So that is not the case in case of milk business. The payment comes very quickly back to the farmers, and that is how the entire structure has been woven throughout the country. Means there is hardly any place in our country where dairy cooperative has not been organized. I will come to those figures later. In China, milk production increased due to better farm management, because they went systematically and they just copied the Western model, and they went ahead with their growth. And the world milk production is growing at a rate of 1.9% CAGR. Please go ahead. Next slide. National dairy profile. You see, the India's share in the world market is 19%. How does it happen? As I was telling you, the co-op, suppose there is 100 liters of milk which is procured in the entire country. Out of that 100 liters, almost 15% share. 15% share is that of cooperative, and 15% share is that of private. In terms of infrastructure, in terms of organization at the village level. But when it comes to procurement, nowadays 60% of the milk is procured by private dairies, and 40% of the milk is procured by the cooperative dairies. And rest, says almost 70% of milk collection still is in the hands of unorganized sectors, like those gwalas, those small vendors, those who collect milk on motorbike or bicycles from the villages with only 2 cans attached to their bike or motorbike and things like that. So they collect 70% of the milk still, particularly in the cow belt of our country. Of course, the Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, all these areas are highly organized areas, and there the cooperative structure is much stronger. Of course, the Punjab, the cooperative structure is a bit stronger. Haryana is same story. I will come to that later. Now, coming back to this, the basic figures. There are 177 milk unions organized throughout the country. And milk union means kind of a district level organization, which is having membership at the village level. Almost every village will have a dairy cooperative society where the farmers join as primary members. They pour milk every day, morning as well as evening. And every day the milk is tested for fat, SNF, and the quantity. And they get a passbook, and then they get all the details about the fat, SNF, the quantity, whether it is cow milk or buffalo milk, all those details they get. And they go back and then again come back in the evening. And that is how it goes on every day, 365 days. There are no holidays, no Saturdays, no Sundays. Whether it is rainy season, whether it is summer season, it goes on continuously. So number of villages in our country are 6,12,428, and villages where the milk business is going on is 320,000. So 2 villages there is a dairy cooperative which is functioning. So almost every dairy farmer is attached this way or that way, indirectly or directly, to a dairy cooperative in our country. And animals owning households are 6,91,000. So because there are active dairy farmers and there are farmers having animals, but some animals always are dry. Some animals are 1/3 animals, as a thumb rule, 1/3 animals are dry, 1/3 animals are pregnant, and 1/3 animals are in milk. That is how the business goes continuously. Next slide, please. The milk production in the year 1920 was 195 million metric tons throughout our country, and the average milk production growth rate is 6.4. Now, this is very important. When the agriculture is not doing very good in terms of growth, maybe this year it will be a bit better, maybe touching 3%, I don't know, but it was not doing well during COVID period. But despite COVID, despite agriculture not doing well, you will notice that milk business is doing well. Milk production is growing at 6.4, and this is really wonderful. This is really good for agriculture, and this takes away a lot of the burden on agriculture itself. And this is happening only because of the infrastructure which was created under Operation Flood program by NDDB up to say still goes on, but particularly after 1991 there was delicensing and the privates have emerged as one of the important players, and the infrastructure created by private is almost 4 times than what was created in Operation Flood. So you can see the power of private over the cooperative, and how they are able to expand so fast because of the amazing management you have in private sector. But despite that, I would say that it is the cooperative sector which did the groundwork. It's kind of military going ahead and capturing some area, and it's like private sector coming at a later stage and doing their own job. Availability of milk on this basis is 394 grams per day, which was nowhere near this figure in the beginning when the program was started in our country. Maybe it was 112 grams or 111 grams like that per day at that point of time. Had there been no Operation Flood program in our country, I'm sure we would be importing milk and milk products for our countrymen, thanks to all these efforts the cooperative sector has taken so far. And then the secondary income source to, I say secondary income source to almost 70 million households. So you can notice that this is the biggest employment generating program in our country, next to agriculture. I would say that directly and indirectly almost 10 crore farmers, 10 crore persons are employed in this sector, in this unorganized sector, I would say. And this is amazing. Livestock generates employment of 22.5 million people directly, and then there is a indirect employment as well. As you know, in a dairy industry, as it goes through milk production, procurement, processing, and marketing, and therefore so many jobs are also indirectly generated. Next, please. Milk procurement by cooperatives is 45.43 million per day, almost, and then processing capacity is 72.91 million per day. You'll notice that there's a difference between production and procurement. As I said, 70% of milk goes to private unorganized sector, and therefore the share of organized cooperative plus private sector is almost 15% with cooperative and 15% with the private. So I'm talking about this 15% cooperative share, that is 45 million liters per day. And this is procured through the strong infrastructure created. As earlier speaker was saying, every day you get a milk pouch at your doorstep. That infrastructure. A dairy in every village, a dairy cooperative in every village, a chilling plant in the vicinity, or nowadays we have a bulk milk chiller in the cluster of villages or in a village, and then you have a main dairy at the district level or in a maybe a centralized place in a district, and in a metro you have a big mother dairy or a metro dairy. That is how the structure has evolved over the years. And that structure has a capacity of 72 million liters per day. So So you are able to produce milk, you are able to procure milk, and you are able to process that milk, and that is how it reaches to the consumer every day. And the livestock situation is, say, number of buffaloes, the total livestock is 512 million. As against that, number of buffaloes is 108 millions and number of cows is 190 millions. Milch animal population, that is, milch animal means those animals which are in milk. As I said, it is almost like one third. But the one which is pregnant is also considered as a milch animal. So milch animal population is cows 67 million, buffaloes 51 million, and total 118 million. So this is very important, that in India, unlike Western countries, it is the buffaloes which carry the bigger load of producing milk. Buffalo is an amazing animal because it can sustain on roughages, unlike cows. Cows generally need better, particularly the crossbred cows need better balanced cattle feed and so on and so forth. Whereas the buffaloes can sustain themselves on. It's a tough animal. It can sustain on roughages, and they produce very high quality, good quality milk. Next. The milk processing infrastructure, again, a bit. The bulk milk coolers throughout the country are about 12,941, having capacity to process 32 lakh liters per day, whereas the plant's processing capacity is 670 lakh liters per day. So together they are able to process that milk which we collect every day through the cooperative system. We are talking about the cooperative system only. Because the private figures are not much available in one single shot. The cooperative network, that is procurement, number of unions, I said 177. There are federations. Above the milk unions at the state level, there are federations also, which take care of the marketing of the excess milk available with the district milk unions. And dairy cooperative societies at village level are 176, 176,000, in fact. Next, please. Let us look at the figures for availability of fodder, because generally we think that there is plenty of rainfall in our country, so there should be plenty of fodder. But in reality, you will notice that demand for dry fodder is 416 million metric ton, as against availability is only 253 million metric tons. So there is a shortfall of almost 40%. So far as the dry fodder goes. So far as the green fodder goes, there is a shortfall of 36%. And so far as the cattle feed goes, there is a shortfall of 57%. Now this is happening, the cattle feed shortfall is happening despite consistently all the governments in our country are exporting cattle cakes outside our country. The groundnut cake or the cottonseed cakes are being exported despite this shortfall in our own country. So there are many reasons for that. So next. Milch animal average productivity. Now, you see, the Western countries, in the Western countries, the crossbred animals, particularly the Holstein Friesian or the Jersey animal, they produce about 32 liters of milk per animal. Whereas in our country, you will notice that exotic animals produce only 10.9, almost 11 liters. The pure breed, I would say, the crossbred produces 7.4 liters. The indigenous, that Desi cow, produces 3.5 liters. And nondescript cow, which is not up to the standard, produces 2.29 liters of milk. It means the production of milk per animal in our country, as against those in the Western countries, is almost 1/10 or so, very, very less. And in case of buffalo, indigenous produces only 5.9 liters, and the non-distilled produces 4 liters, so like that. So we have, so far as when it actually the whole dairy story goes around this particular productivity issue. The low productivity, low production, low inputs, and low output, all those things happen, and this is a vicious circle, and therefore it goes on and on and on, and the animal continues to produce less. That is the crux of the issue so far as the India's dairy story goes. Next. The state level dairy industry profile is the number of districts are 136. There are 355 talukas and 43,000. The state level means the Maharashtra state level I'm talking about. The population is 116, Maharashtra population, million. And districts are 36. Number of cooperatives in Maharashtra, that is dairy cooperatives we are talking about. The 11,595 dairy cooperatives, and all these dairy cooperatives are amalgamated into 74 milk unions. And the number of milk producers who are attached to this are 1.19 million. And the milk production in our state, that is Maharashtra state, is 11.6 million metric ton, and our ranking is 7th. So at one point of time, Maharashtra was ranked as second, then afterwards third, but now it is slowly falling to different levels and going down and down. The reason is that in other states, the governments are supporting dairy development activity very closely. Say, take for example, in case of Karnataka, they are giving 6 rupees subsidy per liter to the farmers' account directly, and which is giving a big impetus for production of milk in that state. And then a huge infrastructure has been built under Operation Flood program there in Karnataka state, which is now next to Gujarat. So Maharashtra, there are very many reasons for that. I will not go in detail, but I would say that Maharashtra has not picked up the opportunity, and we are on now 7th position because of that. Next. The dairy plants, the chilling centers, the bulk coolers, and the position is like this. There are 107 plants, that is the factories in Maharashtra, including cooperative and government. The average procurement is about 40 lakh liters per day, and then capacity of all these is 9.4 million liters per day, and the chilling centers 142 numbers, and the capacity is 4.4 million liters per day. And the bulk coolers, there are 903 bulk coolers, out of which privates own 219, and the cold storages are 263. And then the average procurement of private is 60 lakh liters per day, and it's not million, it's lakh liters, and capacity is 11.29 million. So you will notice that the private is slowly emerging as a bigger player in Maharashtra. There are dairies like Dynamics Dairy, then you have Sonai Dairy, then you have and so many other private dairies, around 6 to 7 private dairies. New dairies are also emerging. Lactalis Dairy, Lactalis, which is a European cooperative dairy, has recently taken over Prabhat Dairy in Maharashtra. So that a lot of privatization is taking place in the dairy industry, and the cooperative sector is slowly going down in terms of managing the dairy, in terms of collecting milk and so on. Next. The milk production and availability. So if you look at the last 7-year figures, you will quickly understand that if you compare, say, 18, the milk production million metric tons was 11.65, and now earlier it was 9.37. Though there is a slight increase over the years, the availability is going up from 213 to 266 grams per day. But still, not many things are still to be done because even this production is not enough for our population. You must have seen the overall Indian availability, that is 394 or something, as against that Maharashtra is having only 266, which means somewhere we are below even our national average, so far as the Maharashtra state goes. Next, please. The powder plants and the cattle feed plants capacities, the government, although I'm showing here government figures here, but most of the dairy plants under government have closed by now. As a policy also they are closing down, and they are becoming defunct. Whereas in cooperative you have 163 metric ton capacity. In private you have 596 metric ton milk powder making capacity. And so far as the cattle feed goes, in cooperative sector, you have 1,375 metric ton capacity, whereas in private, you have 1,250 metric ton capacity. So total cattle feed production capacity is 2,875 all put together, and for powder plant, powder making 810 metric ton per day, which is a sizable infrastructure is already available in Maharashtra. What needs to be done is a bit of increase in milk production. Next. The data now. Let us look at what is happening in Kolhapur. Kolhapur, you will see a bit better figures. The population is 4.14 million. Rural population is 2.8 million, and the area is 7,685 square kilometers. Talukas, there are 12. Villages, there are 1,216. And the average rainfall is quite a good amount of rainfall, 1,772 millimeters. Then the animal owning households are 0.4 million, and availability of milk per day is 489 grams. It's not per day; it should be per person. Availability of milk, 489 grams. So that shows that that figure is even more than the Indian average. So that also shows that Kolhapur is doing well in terms of milk production, in terms of milk procurement, and in terms of even availability of milk per person. Next, please. Details of milch animals in Kolhapur. As per the 2012 census, 2021 census, you will see that 39,000 cows have increased, whereas the buffalo population has gone down. This is purely owing to the reason, the costing part of it. Though the farmer is not a good cost accountant, but he knows which is profitable and which is not profitable. So somehow he knows that having a crossbred animal is much more profitable than the buffalo, and therefore he is reducing his buffalo population and is increasing his cow population. That is how one can make out of it. Next, please. The details of milk production, that is milk collected by the cooperative here in Kolhapur is 1.8 million 1.8 million liters per day, whereas collection by privates is 0.2, which is meager, and home consumption at producer level is 0.5, because when he sells milk, he keeps something for his own consumption as well, and that is how the total production is 2.5 million liters per day in Kolhapur district. Next, please. The dairy industry now, we will, in fact, now having given you a kind of a scenario, what's going on at the international level, what's going on at the national level, and what's going on at the state and the Kolhapur level, you might be having a better picture of what is this dairy business is all about. So therefore, let's look at what are the challenges for the dairy industry right now. You will see the Indian market, the if you want to say, for example, set up a dairy, it's a very high cost activity. That is, it's a high. You have to spend a lot of money just on equipment, because most of the equipment is all stainless steel, and that too high grade stainless steel 304. So therefore, a lot of investment has to be done in terms of factory setup. Then next thing is, when it comes to procurement of milk, processing of milk, marketing of milk, all these activities, and then when you go for selling your marketing your milk, you find that the consumer wants it at a low cost, and he wants small packaging. So by and large, you will see that the small packaging is high cost packaging. There's a lot of cost involved when it is a small packaging. So on one side, what happens that your cost of production of your packaging increases, and on the other side, the demand from the consumer is that it should be available at a low cost. For example, if there is a, for example, increase in cost of diamond or silver or gold, there's not much of hue and cry. But if you increase rate of your milk by, say, even by 1 rupee or 2 rupee, there are headlines in the newspapers, TV. Everybody is saying that inflation is going up and the prices are going up and how things will happen. The reason behind that is that everybody drinks milk, everybody takes milk, everybody consumes milk, maybe in the form of tea, coffee, or whatever, or directly as milk. So therefore, it's the topic is near and dear, and the costing is also near and dear to everybody. And in our country, the masses are their purchasing capacity is not very high, and so therefore they expect that the fruits, vegetables, and the milk and the groceries should always be available at low cost. So that's one reason, one challenge, I would say. And the second is, there are two types of products. One type of product is, as per the say Indian taste, like desi products, like gulab jam and rasgullas and pedas and like that, and other European type of products like cheese and casein and milk powders and things like that, and yogurt and different type of yogurt, different type of ice creams, and so on and so forth. So there are distinctly two type of milk and milk products which you need to cater to people's taste. And majority of the people, they are actually they are consuming Indian desi products, but our entire infrastructure is not geared towards that. It's because the equipments are imported, the technologies are imported, the entire science is oriented towards Western type of thinking, and so on and so forth. And therefore, all the dairies are set up for producing European type of products, which is a kind of a paradox in our country. And then we don't have even equipments for processing the desi type. Of course, lately we have innovated. कुछ जुगाड़ किया है जिसको बोलते हैं, that we are producing Srikhand, we are producing paneer, but nonetheless we still do not have highly efficient and automatic equipments for producing desi products. Next. Then that was then at the production level, if you go, still you will find that over the years, what has happened in the earlier era of before Operation Flood, there was hardly any investment in the dairy industry. After Operation Flood, of course, there was investment in cooperative sector there, but there was no investment in private sector. And of course, till today, even there is no investment in unorganized sector. Abhi bhi wo that Gwalia is collecting milk in cans and bringing it to the cities and pouring it at the doorstep, unpasteurized, unprocessed, unchecked, and so on and so forth. So at the production level, you will see that still there is old technology. Still there is so much to be done, that we need to have the automation part of it. We need to have computerization. We need to have the ERP systems in every dairy. So those things are still to be done. A few dairies are exception, but I'm talking about overall in general. And if you are and at the production level, if you are not able to improve quality and reduce the cost of milk production, you see the scenario is like this, that 80%, the suppose we collect 100 rupees from our consumer, the 80 rupees is passed on to the milk producer as cost of milk. So when a chunk of that is going towards just payment of the cost of raw material, then what is needed is that we must improve the quality, and we must reduce the cost of production. This is what a factory man would say. But on the other hand, you will see that the per animal production is so low that the cost of production goes very high. And therefore, it's a constant struggle between how to reduce the cost of production and make it remunerative to the farmer as well as to the person who is running the factory. Then on procurement side, you will notice that the first of all in our country, the condition of the road is so bad that the communication system, still we talk about internet, we talk about TVs and mobiles and all those things, but that is only at the say city level. The moment you leave main city and go say 10-20 kilometers away from the city, you start facing problems about the communication, the range, the inability of that you cannot operate through mobile, and then road conditions are bad. In between two road, that two villages, the distance are so much that the transport cost goes high, and so on and so forth. So therefore, when you are procuring milk, you are constantly struggling to bring more milk per kilometer traveled by your vehicle, and by and large, generally you collect less milk and you travel more to collect that 1 liter of milk. And of course, the low production we have already talked about. And then the dairy business is still, on one side we say that the dairy business has done wonders. It has there are big farms in our country coming up. Some farms are even having 100 animals, 200, 500 animals, and they have computers attached, all those things. But it is only in few places. By and large, you will notice that the dairy business is still age-old business. The farmer is having 1 or 2 animals. His cattle sheet is not hygienic. There is no cleanliness. He doesn't care about milk production in a scientific manner, and because of that, the cost of production goes up. And then you have to constantly work with this farmer through extension activities, through training programs, through persuasion, in order to bring better quality of milk. And it's a constant struggle. And the farmer still thinks that this is my secondary business, and then he doesn't give full attention to the dairy business as particularly in a scientific manner as it is required to do the business in a profitable manner. Then the next issue is, I would rather, at this juncture, I would say that the Gokul Dairy, which is one of the Operation Flood dairies, NDDB picked up 2 dairies in Maharashtra initially under Operation Flood program. That is Jalgaon Dairy and the Kolhapur Dairy. And the Kolhapur Dairy even has done better than Jalgaon Dairy, and has shown the way how the dairy business needs to be done throughout the country, I would say. The reason is that Gokul's extension programs are applauded by NDDB and other government agencies as well. The Gokul's veterinary input program, particularly now the ethno-veterinary practices which are being conducted by Gokul's veterinarians, is being applauded. Gokul's women leadership program has been applauded by NDDB, and they have awarded NDDB. Government of India has given 14 awards to Gokul Dairy for their excellent work they have done. What does it mean? It means that under Operation Flood program, when 177 milk unions were organized, all the 177 milk unions could have functioned like Gokul Dairy on Anand model. But unfortunately, that has not happened. Had it happened, then they would have given a fitting reply to the growing the private sector, and they would have given a kind of a equal fight. for survival in the industry. But that is not happening, and most of the cooperatives are not doing well. So why Gokul Dairy could do that? There are very many reasons for that. But I would say that the systems developed, and one of the systems is, of course, I will talk about that later. But one of the systems is also cost system. The Gokul Dairy has been successful in evolving different systems at the production level, procurement level, processing level, marketing level, and particularly at the procurement and processing level, in such a way that the operations are going on smoothly, and they have been able to show the results. So therefore, the answer to all the issues which I am trying to list, the challenges, the answer is there in the Anand model. The answer is there the way Gokul Dairy is functioning. The answer is there that the technologies are available. Only thing is that one needs to evolve systems to implement those processes. Let's go ahead. The larger area of milk procurement is one issue. The resulting what happens, in our country, you have to travel so much distance to collect so less milk. So that is that problem again and again is cropping up in case of procurement also. Please go to next slide. Then nowadays, you will see, you open TV and you will see that people are talking about adulteration in every aspect of our life, including milk. But let me assure you that the adulteration is not as rampant as being televised by the different channels. It's not like that. The majority of the 100%, the farmers at the village level are not adulterating. If anybody is adulterating, it is the middlemen, it is the agents who are adulterating in between. They collect milk and they adulterate and then try to make more profit quickly. So therefore, what is needed is at the village level, we must procure milk through farmers. We must not procure milk through agents. The moment you start procuring through a private system or an agent system or a Gwala system, you give encouragement for adulteration. Because at the dairy cooperative system, what happens, that Anand model system, what happens is that you have a machinery to check adulteration, you have a machinery to check the fat percent, the SNF percent, the quantity, and everything is transparent, everything is on computer. So nobody can cheat under that system. Whereas in the agent system, there are no records. There is some illiterate person who is collecting milk in a can, he is collecting, and then he's not even pasteurizing, he's not even chilling, so there is no cold chain, he's not even testing milk, and as such he is bringing. So what needs to be done is maybe government needs to become stricter in this case. Maybe government, of course, government rules and regulations are strict, but because our country is so vast, the policing our country is difficult, and therefore these issues like, say, poor quality of cattle shed, lack of awareness regarding hygienic milk collection system, safeguarding milk against it's not extraneous material falling in milk, then timely vaccination of animals and treatment, and artificial insemination for timely pregnancy. So what is happening is that the at the village level, I'm talking in general, I'm not talking about a project. You might see a different scenario at Kolhapur, that we are taking care of all these things, and so that we have a better cold chain, we have a better quality milk collection system, so on and so forth. But in general, you will notice that because the farmers are illiterate, the cattle shed is also not hygienic, because their awareness is low, they don't do it scientifically. There are no training programs available for them. There's nobody to guide them, and because of all these things, ultimately the quality of milk would not improve. At the production side, you will see that the 80% cost, as I said earlier, goes for procurement of raw material. So low productivity of the animals, I have again and again talked about it. Then there is lack of support to farmers from our government for vaccination, treatment, feed and fodder, supply to increase productivity and development. As I said, in fact, the government system cannot do all these things. So you have to have either a very strong cooperative system or a private system which does all those things which cooperative is doing. In fact, Dr. Kurian always used to say that rather than private directly going in the field and collecting milk, they should purchase milk from cooperative, and government should encourage cooperative to collect milk at the village level. The reason is it is the farmer-owned system which can very well reciprocate to the needs of the farmer. It's logical. So therefore, suppose at the village level, you need to train farmers, the cooperative will train farmers. We need to give veterinary aid to the farmers at the dairy stop, the cooperative will do it. But if you leave it to the private trade, then what happens? The private trade is money-minded. They're always thinking in terms of making more profit. They're always thinking in terms of, reducing the cost and increasing the share dividend to their owners, so on and so forth. So therefore, the focus is not on the farmer. The focus is on the business itself and making more profit. But the cooperative's mandate is not primarily focusing on the business profit. They do focus on profit, but their primary focus is on the farmer's well-being, and for that, the providing the better quality services. And that is how that little bit difference changes the whole scenario when it comes to doing things at the field level. So I would still suggest that government should rethink about its policy of implementing dairy activities at the village level. They should leave it to the cooperative to do it, so that the private could collect better quality of milk, or otherwise the private should be forced to undertake all those activities like veterinary care, feed, fodder, the artificial insemination, the extension activities. Otherwise, they are not going to get good quality milk through agent system. That is 101% sure. Next. The role of cost and management accountants. Now we are coming to the crucial part of it, that what is the role of the cost account. See, the dairy industry is closely linked to agriculture and rural sector. So therefore, it is naturally embedded into that system. So therefore, what happens, the dairy cannot be isolated and looked into as if, it is a separate business. It is a part of that rural economy. It is part of the agriculture, and whatever is good and bad in the rural economy and good and bad in agriculture economy is also becomes part of the dairy business. That everybody should keep it in mind. Second thing is, most of the Indian population is in the rural areas. So I'm trying to give throw some light on how the dairy becomes important to all of us, dairy business. This is 70% people still, we think in terms of Mumbai or Pune or big metro cities, Bangalore or Delhi and like that. But nonetheless, we have seen in COVID how things have happened. That I was told the other day that 1 crore people have left Mumbai and have gone to their own rural areas wherever their forefathers were living. So, but they're still sustaining, they're still living. It's all only because of agriculture. So therefore, we cannot shun away the importance of agriculture in our Indian economy. During COVID-19 pandemic situation, large number of people migrated from cities to rural area for seeking their livelihood in agriculture sector, and then direct and indirect employment generated by the dairy sector is almost 10 crore direct and indirect employment. So this is a huge sector which is giving employment to so many people. And then the turnover of dairy business now is reported as 7 lakh crore rupees, which is equal to combined turnover of sugar and paddy put together. So therefore, we cannot, say that the dairy industry or the agriculture sector, after all, it's a small, as against the industry. It's not like that. It is one of the important sectors which gives huge employment, and the turnover is also increasing day by day, and therefore it is becoming important part of our economy. Next, please. the and therefore on this backdrop, on this backdrop, one should understand why every penny, why every naya paisa earned in dairy industry becomes so important, and therefore the importance of costing and the management and the cost accountants, because no other person other than the cost accountant thinks about this kind, the how to save money, how the costing is done. I've seen Mr. Karpe, who is our CMA. Uh, he has shown wonders so far as the Gokul dairy is concerned. In fact, there's a private dairy in Coimbatore, which they sent a trainee over here with us, and they were told that Gokul keeps better quality cost figures, and then there is a cost accountant, a manager who is Mr. Karpe, and he's able to do a better job. So therefore, I have a friend there in that Coimbatore dairy, and he sent his own chartered accountant to us to understand how we are doing. And that lady came here, she stayed for 2-3 days, and then while going back, she met me. And she said that I have gone to several dairies, private as well as cooperative, in South India, and I have never seen this kind of costing system which you guys are doing, and I'm really thankful to you. So therefore, that is how the Gokul dairy has, I would say, that saved a lot of money and have done a lot of exercises on how to do the costing and so on and so forth. And that is how I have also understood the importance of cost in dairy business. So therefore, I would say that every naya paisa, every rupee which is saved in the dairying goes back to the farmer, because 80% of our money goes back to the farmer in terms of purchase of raw material. So out of 100 rupees, we are giving 80 rupees back to the farmer, and that's why saving money, doing costing properly, accurate costing is so important for us. Next thing is milk is required to be collected from larger areas, and therefore I have been again and again talking to you about the large area, the transport cost, and how the scattered is our milk collection system. Every farmer is producing so much less milk. There are farmers in our district also who have less than 1 acre of land, and who give sometimes even 250 grams of milk to our dairy cooperative. That is the level of economy they are having. And under such circumstances, if we do not optimize our operations, how they will sustain the whole business? Then the next is designing activity based on cost and management system for various dairy business operations. And this, what Mr. Karpe has done, that we have got different, sections. Like, so for procurement, every day I'm getting report from him about what is happening at the milk route level, which milk route is costly, which milk route is doing better, where we are collecting more milk, where we are collecting better quality milk, and so on and so forth. There are so many shades to kind of costing he is done, and kind of presentations he is doing, and kind of reports we get every day on our desktop. And the second thing is design and development of cost and management account system to have analyze and realistic data for management decisions and milk processes. You see, for example, the various dairy products which we produce, and when we negotiate with other dairies, and when we talk about our costing and the way we have done our costing, and when we talk to their finance people, and when we ask them different questions, or when we ask for information, sometimes they wonder why you are asking so much information. Then I told them that this is how we work. We do threadbare accounting, and we do threadbare discussion about costing. And unless and until we are sure about what we are doing, and it has to be done transparent way. You tell us all your cost, and we'll arrive at the cost of production or cost of that particular article. And then if you want profit over that, you tell us how much profit you want, we'll give you. But we must know what's going on over there, even in your dairy, when we have to deal with you. And And they, after discussions and after associating with our dairy for a few years, then they come back and says that we are very thankful to you, because this kind of costing we have never done, and now we have understood, we have learned so much from your Mr. Karpe, your cost account. So that is a wonderful, the experience we are having at Gokul Dairy. Next, please. Even this MIS system, in fact, I have talked little about it, that every day he's sending that analysis about veterinary activity, about our milk routes, about our marketing activity. So, so our cost manager is touching all the areas wherever is cost is involved, and cost is involved almost in every area of the business. And then the more realistic cost and management accounting system for ascertaining accurate cost of value added milk products. So the real struggle comes with value addition of milk products and then costing of those milk products, because if you are producing say a particular kind of Shrikhand, then naturally you need to do a bit of more costing. I think I've given you a detailed scenario, and I would now thankful to you for patiently hearing me. And now I would encourage you to ask a question if anybody is having in his mind. Please be free to ask any question. Thank you very much.
Sir, if we'll take a scenario of Maharashtra, we find that dairy business that flourished in Western Maharashtra, and it is not yet being developed in Konkan or Marathwada or Vidarbha region. There means from where we have come. So
Yeah.
I want to know the reason why it is flourished only in Western Maharashtra and not in my Vidarbha, and
Yes.
what we can do in Vidarbha.
Yes, sure. You see, incidentally, I have studied in Yavatmal up to 11th standard in a government school over there. So I am very much
So you
Varadi.
told me this thing, sir, when I met you that time,
Yes.
because I stay in the Dhamangaon. I did my up to 12th
Okay.
schooling from Dhamangaon Railway. So
Okay.
it is very nearby.
Okay. See, there is no difference in human beings in Marathwada or Konkan, or for that matter in Vidarbha. So what is different is the leadership. The other day I was talking to Mr. Ashok Chavan, the minister, and I was in Mantralaya for some work, and we met him, and we were discussing the same thing, and he was asking that why is it that Kolhapur kind of formula could not be implemented everywhere. Same thing. I would try to give answer in a different way probably. And once Lal Bahadur Shastri came to Anand, Gujarat, for inauguration of their cattle feed plant, and the Lal Bahadur Shastri was Prime Minister that time, and he went around the villages, the other Ajarpura village, the famous story, and he stayed there for some time. Overnight, he stayed there in Ajarpura villages. He saw all the functioning where farmers are coming, milk is being collected, and all sorts of people were coming over there, and so on and so forth. So he was very happy. And when he came back to the Anand guest house, he called Dr. Kurian, and he said that, Mr. Kurian, I'm very happy to see your dairy cooperative, your dairy factory, but I wonder, because I come from the Uttar Pradesh, the area where Murraba fellows are bred, the area where Ganges is there, the area where plenty of water is there, the area where one of the best soils in our country. And what I find over here, that your soil is not good, you don't have much water, your animals are very small, your farmers are also not very sturdy. And now, despite that, how come that in Gujarat you could develop Amul, and you could develop such a best dairy and the business, and how come that they're getting better price better price for their milk than my farmer in Uttar Pradesh. So Dr. Kurian replied saying that, sir, there is absolutely no secret. The only secret is that the Amul dairy is owned and operated by the farmers. It is controlled by the farmers, farmer leaders, and it is run by the professionals like me, he said, like Dr. Kurian. So the answer to your question is almost the same. That in case of Maharashtra, in case of Vidarbha, Marathwada, and Konkan, the leadership in that area has failed to mimic the Anand model. There are dairies there, but they are not owned by the farmer. There are milk processing plants not owned by the farmer. There is milk collection, but not the dairy cooperatives. There are not much dairy cooperatives. There are not many leaders like Tribhuvandas Bhai Patel, who was the first chairman of Amul. So there are not many professionals like Dr. Kurian who could run dairies in Vidarbha, Marathwada, or Konkan. So you can import a machinery, you can bring in lot of foreign aid, you can bring in lot of World Bank aid, you can bring in lot of NDDB funds, but you cannot bring in the leadership from France or England. You have to have your own homegrown leadership which could do the similar job what was done in Gujarat, in Amul in particular, or in Kolhapur in particular. So therefore, that cannot be imported. That has to be homegrown, and that is not being.
Great, sir. Thank you, sir. Another question my wife forced to ask you, because we have such a brand loyalty for Gokul. We never take a Chitale, we take only Gokul. Okay, but now suddenly in morning, means it's by incident it happened. Morning she read a newspaper, and there again it has come that there will be price hike by 2 rupees, and now Gokul, which we are buying, it will be 60 rupees per liter. So that is pinching your regular customers. So
thanks for asking this question. You see, I have touched upon this earlier also. And the first I will talk on behalf of farmers, and then I will talk on behalf of consumers as well. You see, if you look at from farmers' angle, I have been constantly in my presentation talking about how difficult it is. The animals, their productivity, and how difficult at the Indian level, how difficult it is to collect 1 liter of milk. Even there are farmers who give 250 grams, 250 ml of milk per day. So you can see their economic level, their plight. It's a livelihood for them. It's not, it's a very tough thing for them. It's a very serious matter for them. Recently, we conducted the door-to-door survey, house-to-house survey of all the milk producers who are our members. And what we have found is that majority of them, some 80% of them, are having less than one acre of land. The 85% of the milk bill which goes to them goes for running their household activities, like paying for the children's education fees and things like that. So at the village level scenario nowadays in Kolhapur district, elsewhere also it is similar, is that the dairy industry is driving their day-to-day household business. So that much importance the dairying has gained in their life. And under such a situation, you will see now that if you buy a Pepsi, Coca-Cola, that half a liter bottle costs you 50 rupees nowadays. But nobody complains about it. If you buy a Bisleri bottle, that is nowadays 25 rupees, one Bisleri bottle, but nobody complains about it. But when there is a hike of 1 rupee in milk price, or even sabji, even fruits, you will notice that immediately there is a reaction, or even dal for that matter. Immediately there is halla gulla, there is a reaction that the prices are going up and things like that. When the prices of other commodities like houses go up, or even motorcycle goes up, or car goes up, nobody talks about it, because this milk is a day-to-day item, and it is purchased by all types of consumers. poor consumers, middle class consumers, high level consumers, very rich consumers as well. So therefore, this is a near and dear topic for everybody. Whenever there is a slight increase in the price, everybody talks about it. But you will notice that, say, for example, on an average, our farmer gets 40 rupees. So if a 5 rupee, if a 2 rupee rise is there, it is not more than 5%. But at the same time, the inflation is now, the current year inflation is more than 15%. So therefore, as against that, the price hike is not much. हम तो डरते हैं प्राइस हाइक करने के लिए, हमें पता है कि आपके घरवाली जो है हमें गुस्सा करने वाली है, तो इसलिए प्राइस हाइक करते करते हम बहुत डरते हैं और थोड़ा सा करते हैं. जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया ना कि out of 100 we are paying 80 rupees to the farmer. So when your wife is paying me 2 rupees, out of that 2 rupees, 1 rupee 60 paisa is going to the farmer. It's kind of a charity on her behalf. Tell her that we are very much thankful to her for giving that extra 2 rupees. That extra 2 rupees is nothing for you, but it's a big sum for our milk producers who are even pouring 250 grams to us. You see, our members are 3 lakhs and they're giving, say, at this juncture, 12 lakh liters of milk. It means every member is giving us 4 liters of milk. The cost of 4 liters is only 160 rupees. 40 multiplied by 4, because we are paying 40 rupees to our farmers. 40 multiplied by average price, I'm saying. Some farmers are getting 50 rupees also. 40 multiplied by 4 is only 160 rupees. So every day that farmer gets only 160 rupees. The daily wages in our country is 324 rupees, 21 rupees or so, 34 rupees or so. So the farmer is not even getting daily wages when he is pouring milk to us. So, and he's spending the whole day in producing that milk. So you can imagine how much is the labor going behind producing 1 liter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
If anybody have question, please ask, unmute yourself and ask the question.
And CMA Dhananjay Kumar was saying, there is one question, sir. Like when we talk to farmer, they feel that this is a loss-making business, milking. So when I try to see what I find, like as you told, the cow giving milk or animal giving milk to the total number of animal is 1/3. If this is increased to like a 40% or 50%, then naturally the cost of milk will come down, because all the animal, whether they are giving milk or not, they consume the fodder and their cost goes on. So what can be done to increase this ratio from 1/3 to like 40% or 50%, something like that?
You see, in fact, this is a challenge to everybody who is listening to me, because we are now talking about the core costing, so to say. And the challenge is that it's not that we do the costing and that's it. I have nothing to do with profitability. I have nothing to do with what happens to the farmer. I have done my job. I have done the costing part. No. What needs to be done is that, having done the costing, why is it that the farmers are not able to, they are not satisfied? Why they are not even able to cover the cost of production? Why the industry is not able to give them the remunerative price which they really need to? At least they need to cover their costs, basic cost. As we say in marketing business, we say कि cost of production के नीचे माल नहीं बेचने का. Cost of production के नीचे माल बेचा तो धंधा क्या किया? लेकिन ये फार्मर तो डेली कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन के नीचे ही बेचता है बेचारा, और पूरी इंडस्ट्री उसके ऊपर खड़ी है. मतलब पूरी हमारी डेयरी इंडस्ट्री उस आदमी के ऊपर खड़ी है जो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन के नीचे माल बेचता है आपको. तो ये रिडल है. आप देखोगे, यू विल सी दैट इन वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज लाइक से अमेरिका, इफ यू सी गो ऑन इंटरनेट, यू विल सी 100 साल का डेटा आपको मिलेगा. 100-year डेटा you will be able to see on the internet for American farmers. They are collecting data and they are doing it business like. For them, even agriculture is a business. So therefore, what they do, that they know how many animals they have in the country, they know how much milk they are producing, and they know how much is the cost per farm. And therefore, if the farm is not making profit, they see to it that either they sell the animal, it goes to the slaughterhouse, or they increase the cost of, they increase the productivity of the animals. So every year they are breeding their animals in such a way that the productivity is going up. So suppose last year it was 31.2 liters, this year it will be 31.4 liters or 31.6 liters. So like that, for the entire country, their productivity goes up, doesn't go down. In our case, what is happening? There are so many pathetic things in our case. One, we do not even know how many animals we have. We do not even know how many farmers are in this business. We do not even know how many farms are there. This is one thing. Second, I went to Netherlands. There I was told that no farmer, nobody can join dairy business as such. Nobody can do dairy farming as such. He has to qualify himself to do the dairy business. In our country, if a person fails in city, if a person fails in business, if a person fails in any other, even agriculture activities, he does dairy business. So for doing dairy business, there is no qualification in our country. So all the entire agriculture sector, you will notice, in our dairy sector also, you will notice that it is being undertaken by those people who as such have not found any avenues either in the cities or in their own village or in their farming activity, and therefore they have diverted themselves to the dairy. So we are please don't accuse me, but we are dealing with laggards. We are dealing with such people who do not bother about the costing part, who do not bother about reducing the cost of production, who are less concerned about doing it in a scientific manner, and therefore they do it haphazardly. And because of low productivity, there is low income, and because of low income, there is low input, and this vicious cycle goes on. So how do you break this cycle? So this cycle can be only broken by providing them inputs at the doorstep, the way Gokul is doing. So we are providing 24-hour veterinary care at their doorstep. We are providing artificial insemination at their doorstep. We are providing feed and fodder at their doorstep. We are providing even training at their doorstep. By doing so, we have reduced their cost, which otherwise they would have to go somewhere and get those services. They will have to pay the doctor, so they have to pay huge cost to the doctor. So we have eliminated all this cost and reduced his overhead so that it becomes profitable. The business becomes profitable. That is Anand model. That very few people have understood how to reduce the cost of burden on the farmer himself so that he can make a little bit. Why the farmer in Kolhapur is not ready to leave dairy business is because he knows that if he brings one extra animal, he can produce more and get more money, and he can produce milk at his doorstep, he can market milk at his doorstep. So by not even moving even 1 inch, he is able to earn more, because all the services are at the doorstep. So so in case of again, I'll go back to the earlier argument, that is Western countries and India. In case of Western countries, what happened, despite all these things, somehow probably their scientists, their cost accountants, they have come to the conclusion that agriculture is it has something to do with the vagaries of the nature also. So it is really highly unpredictable business. Agriculture is very unpredictable. If you run a factory, everything is predictable. How many employees are there, how much is the input cost, how much is the packaging cost, how much is the total cost, and this is my cost of production, and I will put say 10-15 rupees my profit, and I will sell my product at this cost. Does farmer say like this for his jowar or for his dal or for his milk or vegetable? No. What he says is that I have spent so much money, and this is my produce, and please let me know what is the market cost. And the market cost is always low, because if there is more production, the cost goes down. And if the production is less, the cost goes up. So there is no use of cost going up because his production is less and he's not able to earn much money. So because he is not able to control production, processing, marketing, the farmer is helpless in other sectors. In our milk sector, that is how we have changed the whole scenario. That in our milk sector, it's the only sector, mind you, it's the only sector. And that's why World Bank is applauding the Indian dairy sector. That's why this is unique. That's why Dr. Kurian, whatever Dr. Kurian has done is wonderful to our agriculture and dairy sector. So we must understand that the trick is that everything what farmer is doing should be done in such a way. We should help him in such a way that he doesn't have to move away from his place, move away from his village. For example, let us take sugarcane. Everybody knows about sugarcane and the sugar factory, how it functions. In case of milk, I always talk about this. In case of milk business, we are tasting for milk every day, morning, evening, for all 3 lakh farmers every day. So we are conducting 6 lakh tests every day. You tell me any other business, agriculture, non-agriculture, cities, elsewhere in the world, nobody is doing this much. Every day we are tasting milk and then accepting. When you are producing sugar cane, that farmer carries sugar cane to the sugar factory where it is tested. It is just dumped there in the factory. They just crush it. They just produce sugar. They deduct all the cost and then they tell him that cost of your tonnage is this much. Take this much after 6 months and then go wherever you want to go. That's not the way we do it in milk business. Every 10 days we pay. Not only that, every day he is told that your milk is this much, you will be paid this much. So throughout the year, he knows that my milk will get fetched at this much price and I will get this much bonus on that, this much dividend on that. It doesn't happen elsewhere in other sectors, and that's why, and this formula can be applied to other sectors as well. That's what I'm trying to say. In the Western countries, despite this, all the governments, American government, European government, New Zealand, Australia, anywhere you go, despite all these things, they have very strong economies. Despite all these things, they are subsidizing the farmers for producing milk because they do it for food security. They say that if there is a war, then we'll not get milk from other countries. We don't want to import food grains. We don't want to import milk. So all these Western countries, all these rich countries, they produce their own milk. They produce their own agriculture commodity, even if they are costly to them. And therefore, they even subsidize. So, for example, in America, England, and such other places, there is now people are not even ready to do agriculture. There are hardly 5%, 3% people who are remaining in agriculture. They don't want to. Nobody wants to do agriculture. So, government is subsidizing them. Government is incentivizing them. So, come, Baba, you come and do the agriculture. In our case, 70% people are still there in the rural area and doing agriculture, and they're getting only 160 rupees after slogging for the entire day. So therefore, what we need to do is that put in more inputs are there, but we have to do it intelligently, cleverly, the way Dr. Kurian did in case of Anand model. That is not happening in Vidarbha. That is not happening in Marathwada. That is not happening in Konkan. That is not happening in other parts of the country. That is not happening in other sectors as well. That's the answer.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And next question is that there is some talk in the magazines called veg milk or milk from soya bean. So how big threat or something you feel for a future?
You see, what is happening all over the world is that there is affluence. In our countries also there is they say that within India there is one Europe, which is growing every day. So people are becoming rich and people are becoming affluent. And so first what you know very well, first the rich countries like European and American countries, first they do all sorts of, they commit all sorts of mistakes. Like they have chemical industries, so they pollute air and water. So they have fertilizers, they have pesticides, so they create havoc. They have antibiotics that creates havoc. And having done that, they ultimately come back with a solution saying that no, this is all bad and we should do the organic. By that time, the India has copied their model. And by the time they start talking about organic, we are all, we have polluted our water, we have polluted our air. Our fruits and vegetables are full of pesticides and antibiotics and so on and so forth. And now, because Westerners are talking about organic, we also start talking about organic. So there is a huge movement about veganism and then the organics and things like that. I once joined one seminar on organic foods and all, and we debated this for the entire day. My understanding about organic at that point of time was that it's very tough to do. Those who claim that I'm doing organic are actually not doing 100% organic. They're doing little bit of organic. That is okay, and that should be done. So organic is not bad. Organic fetches better price for the farmer. If some farmers want to do organic, they can go in for the organic and fetch better price. But so far as the organized dairy industry or organized private dairy industry is concerned, it has to happen at a very large scale. So, for example, in Kolhapur, if somebody is doing 100 liters of organic farming, dairy farming, then he has to collect that organic milk and go to Kolhapur city and sell that milk. And there are people who are doing it. Kaneri Mutt, for example, in Kolhapur is selling at the rate of some 90 rupees per liter that organic milk. And they are fetching better price and people are paying also. My wife is also paying for such type of organic vegetables and things like that. So those who are having a better paying facility would demand for a better quality milk, better quality vegetables, and so on. But where is the stamping system? Where is the government system? Do you really know that it is organic? So that is the question. That is one thing. And second thing is that the parallel milks. There is now groundnut milk, there is soybean milk, and all sorts of milks would come. So far as the dairy industry is concerned, our stand is that while advertising it, don't advertise it as if it is cow's milk or buffalo milk. Advertise it saying that it is from other source other than the cow or buffalo. They don't do that. They just say that this is milk, and then the general common consumer gets befooled. At least they shouldn't do that. That's all. If there is competition, okay. We are ready for the competition. As such, there would be competition. There would be value-added products. There would always be such type of competition for other sectors as well. And same thing is happening in case of milk also. But of course, as you know, कि जैसे कि इसमें होता है ना, चुलीवरचं जेवण, चुलीवरची भाकरी, चुलीवरचं मटण. So whatever is original remains original. So far as the cow's milk is concerned, so far as the buffalo milk is concerned, the purity, the taste, the flavor, that will never go away. So if you have a groundnut milk or if you have a soybean milk, you will not get the same flavor or the taste from soybean milk. So therefore, it is the consumers who would ultimately decide which milk he prefers. So that competition is welcome. Only thing is that consumers should be well aware and he should be well educated in terms of marketing. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, this is not a question. This is just a word of appreciation that you praised our CMA Anand Karpe, and we really liked it because our CMAs are doing very good job, golden job, because I met him at his workstation also, and that time I have seen what reports he were preparing and how he is presenting the things. So I really liked it. But it is always good to hear these words from boss mouth, and that is what happened in this forum. So from all CMA fraternity, I would like to say some give you appreciation for these things. Thank you, sir.
Oh, I have not done it deliberately. It has come naturally.
Yeah. Thank you for it.
Is anybody have a question? I think nobody have a question. So I will request our managing committee member, CMA Swapnil Mohet, please give a vote of thanks. Swapnil?
Hello, Swapnil is not there, I think. You can
Yes,
ask.
sir. He's not.
You can ask
He's not
Vatsal
audible.
sir or Karpe sir.
Yeah, yes, sir. So I would request Karpe sir. She's not. She's on mute also. So I request our Vice Chairman Dhananjay Kumar Vatsyayan, please give vote of thanks.
Good evening. Basically, today we had a very nice session from Dattatreya sir on the dairy products. Basically, he nicely conveyed all the message from an international situation to national situation and the things in Maharashtra, what are the problem of farmers and how the consumer end, how they feel, and the briefly the part of the process like a supply chain and all those things. So I would like to thank him for all the efforts for collecting all the information and putting in a very nice manner. This is basically a thing where even a person not involved with the dairy, he can understand the things, how the things moves in the dairy. So really it is a very appreciable job done by him. I will also like to thank the management committee and the staff of the Institute of Cost and Works Councils of India, Pimpri Koti chapter, for organizing this seminar, which is not just a one seminar, basically a series of seminar on this. So the people who are going through this, he will have the complete idea of dairy business. And as our new government is trying to evolve more method to integrate the knowledge with the rural development and agri sector and dairy sector and all those things. So it will really help us to understand, give our input to those sector. And last but not least, I would like to thank everybody who participated it and took the initiative to ask question and understand everything and listening this patiently. So all of you, thank you very much. And next week, again, we will be back with some more topic on the dairy industry. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.